Coming up, the Storm striking New Zealand, Salford make St Helens see red, and the Bulldogs put the Knights down on their sword. Yes, hello and welcome back to the Sideline Chat podcast, the one-stop shop from Rugby League. Just Mark Hendry this week, as Connor Marcellus might have got a bit too carried away over the Bulldogs' victory over Newcastle. So let's just say he's very hungover and can't attend this week. So that's the reason why he's not here. Anyway, back into our prediction time, like reviewing all the action of round number 20 for the NRL, as well as previewing round number 21 of the NRL. We are back after missing last week due to just say life. All I can say there. So, first game of the weekend, we have got the Sydney Roosters up against the Brisbane Broncos. Well, team changes first. I believe there have been not many changes from either side after Brisbane going down to the West Tigers 32-18 and the Sydney Roosters coming out on top 20 points to 10 over the Manly Warringah Sea Eagles. But before I do that, again, what a weekend of footy, celebrating the women in league around, all the wives, partners, girlfriends, mothers, grandmothers, everyone that's been involved with it, the players behind the scenes, and all the likes of the women in the league. It was celebrated on the weekend, which is good to see that NRL still do that. And even with the rise of NRLW, that plays a big part in this as well. Now, for the teams of the Roosters versus the Broncos, go with the away side as per normal. Pat Carrigan is out for 4 matches, so Kobe Harrington has been named in his place at lock. Selwyn Cobbo returns after missing the last 2 weeks. So Deluise Hoto goes to reserve. Jake Turpin has been recalled onto the bench in place of Corey Pakes, while Reece Kennedy also comes into the 17. Now, as for the Roosters, Lindsay Collins is out with a concussion. Ethan Butcher is out with suspension. So Matt Lodge goes into the starting side up front with Terrell May and Ben Thomas on the bench. May has played 5 of his games off the bench this season, while Ben Thomas lines up for his first NRL match since round 24 last season. So let's dive into the Roosters game, as they're the home side and they were the first game on Thursday night football. As I mentioned, they're winning over the Manly Sea Eagles 20 points to 10. Manly didn't do that well. So speaking about the Roosters here, yet again, they did what they normally do, and that is go out and win the games, especially at this time of year where they've been hovering in and out of the top 8. They fell down in the ladder over the Origin period, but starting to come back on strong, and this win was very crucial for them. And also the way that they were scoring tries as well was unbelievable. It was a lot of teamwork. That's what they always do. No matter who the opposition are, they back each other up with what you get from a team in the top side like the Sydney Roosters. But the scoreline doesn't really show how well the Roosters did play. They did play a lot better than what Manly did, I believe, but Manly were right to head on and only lose by 10 points. But if they had those 7 players, or 8 if you count an injury, that could have been the difference. But who knows what could have happened if that happened there. We can only imagine what would have happened. Roosters stand-out performer from Connor is the captain, James Tedesco, with 198 run meters, 2 try assists, 6 tackle breaks, and 1 offload. He was there, everywhere, as he is every week, whether he plays for Australia, New South Wales, or the Roosters. He just runs around the field left, right, and centre. He gets involved in every play possible. He even set up tries. Well, he set up 2 tries in this match. But he's just everywhere. It's unbelievable what he can do. That's why he's one of the best fullbacks in the game. Now, as for Connor, his notes. Well, he has provided me some notes, and Manly's goal on defence folded faster than Ashley Klein's bunker stopwatch. Well, quite funny he says that, based on last week's blunder, I believe. Feathers were ruffled in this affair. A third generation full turn versus the big dog Jared Warrior Hargraves almost sent fireworks flying the field. Yes, they got involved there. It could have got worse than what it did, but Jared Warrior Hargraves against anyone really, you expect fireworks to be happening there. And Manly's grit and determination are to be applauded. Many predicted, with himself amongst them, that the scoreline would be huge. Yeah, I have to plead guilty with that too. I thought it was absolutely going to thrash Manly. Would be huge, like Roosters' advantage. However, to their credit, the final margin was 2 tries, which pretty much replicates what I've said about Manly too. They did well to head on and keep the Roosters from scoring more than 20 points, but without 7 plays, it didn't help them at all. So I had very similar views on this match. Not much to go about here. But yeah, it was a brilliant tight. In the end, ended up being a tight contest more than what we reckon. Now, as for the Roosters' opposition this week, the Brisbane Broncos, they went down to an upset victory to the West Tigers, 32 points to 18. Wow, who saw this one come? This was Tigers' redemption from their robbed victory against North Queensland Cowboys in round 19, which was when the Cowboys did a captain's challenge, which they were right to do, for an escort penalty, as they believe one of the Tigers players took out Cole Felt. Went up to the bunker at the time, which was Ashley Klein. Ashley Klein awarded the escort penalty. Cowboys take the kick, the penalty goal kick, and were successful and won 27 to 26. But afterwards, Graham Annesley came out and said that Ashley Klein awarding the penalty was wrong and it shouldn't have been a penalty, which I believe so. Everyone that I've spoken to, including Connor, said, and how I saw it too, both Kyle Felt and that Tigers player were watching where the ball was going. It was just an accidental collision. But Cowboys thought otherwise, and so did Ashley Klein, who ended up getting dropped for round number 20 for that blunder. So back to the Broncos Tigers game. Well, I've got here. Well, Brisbane, not their greatest performances this season, and going down to a team near the bottom of the ladder doesn't do their confidence much. But in saying that, some things, sometimes a loss to a bottom side can get a team firing, and stuff like this happens from time to time as well. A bottom place side, like the Tigers, would have got firing after what happened the week prior, and Broncos just couldn't live up to it and stick with them. And as for the Tigers, of course, yet another upset this victory, which should have been, as I just previously mentioned, the second time in as many weeks. But it wasn't, and they bounced back in the big way to knock off a top 4 team. And where has this been for them all year? Like, it's been hot and cold all season long. They did upset Parramatta. They did upset South Sydney 2 weeks in a row. They're the upsets of the season by far. And they come out and nearly knocked off and should have knocked off the Cowboys, which has been another upset. And they're now knocking off Brisbane. If they just can do that a bit more consistently, they could be in the top 8 or fighting for the top 8. But no, they are currently sitting in 15th on the ladder and no way of and out of finals contention for yet another season. So there's going to be heaps more consistent across the season. And with new coaching staff coming in next season, who knows what's going to happen? Connor, Didn't provide any match notes for this one, but he did give me a standout performer, which was from the Tigers with Adam Dewey, 1 try, 122 run verdies, 3 tackle breaks, 1 goal line dropout, and 6 from 6 goals converted there. Only, I think it's his 4th or 5th game back, and he's going absolutely brilliantly. And with Luke Brooks out for the season, he can really take control of this side and hopefully steer him to more victories before the season is out. So back to this match up with the Roosters and Brisbane. This could have a finals taste to it, but with Brisbane now in 5th and the Roosters now in 8th, we could see this match up later on, depending on where each side finishes on the ladder come the end of the regular season. Connor has gone for a Roosters 7-12 victory, being possibly a home ground advantage, and the way that Roosters play against over Brisbane play, we just don't know. But I've gone the opposite way. I reckon Broncos will be looking to bounce back after losing to the Tigers in the way that they did. So I'm saying Broncos by 8 points. Now for the first of the Friday night games, but Melbourne Storm against the Gold Coast Titans down in Melbourne at Amy Park. Team changes for the Gold Coast Titans. Jaden Campbell is back at starting fullback after coming off the bench over the last 2 weeks, with AJ Brimson going to 5'8" and Tanner Boyd halfback, with Toby Sexton surprisingly being rested for this match, and Greg Marju is the new player on the bench. Now, as for Melbourne, there have been a few changes yet again, with Brandon Smith returning from suspension, which is a big booster. But in saying that, Nick Feeney is out with a shoulder/concussion injury, which isn't good, so he's replaced by Tyron Wishart. David Nofoaluma, who is on loan for the rest of the season from the Tigers, is slotting straight into the Melbourne starting side, with Grant Anderson shifting to the centres to replace a spicy culprit of Justin Olam. On the games on the weekend we had the Melbourne Storm winning in the same time slot as winning over the Warriors 24 points to 12, while the Gold Coast Titans went down to the Canberra Raiders 36-24. So let's start with the home side first. Melbourne, I finally snapped their losing streak, which you don't say that very often in the season, or especially as how long their losing streak has been. Good to see them have a victory. Pretty much everyone had it predicted. I thought I'd go for the upset, as we posted our predictions last week, that the Warriors might win because they tend to play well at home and they're going to win their playing. But that wasn't to be the case in there. They were too good for the Warriors and could just be a turning point for the Melbourne Storm in their run home to the finals. You just never know. As for the Warriors, they tried but couldn't get past the Storm, even with a home ground advantage. If Sean Johnson would get into conversions, it could have been a whole different story. Right? I think 3 tries and all 3 goals missed. See, that could have made it a bit closer. It could have maybe even upset Melbourne, but that wasn't to be, unfortunately. Yet again, Connor, celebrating too hard. Yet again, Hungover. Didn't provide me notes for this one, but he did give me a standout player. No surprises there. It's the 5'8" of Cameron Munster with 139 run meters, 1 try assist, 6 tackle breaks, 2 offloads, and 1 goal line dropout. He's coming on along very nicely and has helped Melbourne guide them to this win after a 4-game losing streak, I believe it was, which was not like them at all. Now, as for the Melbourne opposition, the Gold Coast Titans, they went down to the Canberra Raiders 36-24. Oh, Gold Coast yet again. They did have a slight comeback, but on a couple of occasions, not just once, but a couple of times, but just couldn't quite get there in the end. But they did have a solid performance, but errors did let the home side down yet again. As for the Grand Machine, they had to work for it in periods of the match, but they came out on top. Even when they did have Joe Tarpany in the sim, they held Gold Coast scores, and they might even score themselves a couple of times when Tarpany was in the bin. And the rate that Canberra are going, they could sneak into the top 8, maybe potentially. They are in that lockjam with the Roosters themselves, the Dragons, or the Sea Eagles and the Dragons. Could they do it? Only time will tell. It was an entertaining clash and quite high scoring too. I didn't think Gold Coast was going to win, but they got more points on the board than what I thought they would have, especially the way that Canberra play. Surprises do happen every now and again. The standout performance for Connor from the Grey Machine is Hudson Young with 1 try, which was a miraculous try. 2 try assists, 118 run meters, 5 tackle breaks, and 1 line break. He had an absolute standout game there, Hudson Young. And like I said, his try, I don't know how he got that ball down, but he did, and it was unbelievable. Beautiful grubber kick through, and he got it in right before the dead ball line there. Now, the notes from Connor and this matchup, the Titans go on defence needs a serious dressing down, allowing Nick Kotrick to burrow over from dummy half is simply not good enough. The right side was caught out by early ball shifts off the back of Hudson Young and Jack White. And those two players absolutely dominant down that right side, as Connor said. Brilliant. And once again, the Raiders demonstrated defensive resolve reminiscent of the 2019-20 seasons. Maintaining this against the best attacking sides could lead to unlock the final score. There we go. Yet again, we both think that they could make the top 8, but they had to have results go their way, and they'll need to keep going on along with their victories. So for this matchup here, Connor has, before I get into our prediction, Storm, Gold Coast, well, this is only one-way traffic it's going to be. I mean, yes, Gold Coast did score 24 points against the Green Machine, but good luck trying against Melbourne. Good luck trying to do that against Melbourne in Melbourne. I have said the Melbourne Storm to win by 40 points, and Connor has said the Storm to win 13 plus. Make that as you will. Now for the second Friday night game, we have got the Manly Warringah Sea Eagles up against the Parramatta Eels at 4 Pines Park. Their wayside team news is Jake Arthur is taken over from halfback as Mitch Moses is out injured with a finger injury, and he has had surgery. So I believe Mitch Moses is out for the remainder of the regular season, so he could be back in time for the finals. And that is the only change to the Parramatta side. And now for the Manly side, the Sea Eagles have Jason Saad, Christian Tui Purutu, Tolo Kawara, Ola Kawatu, and Toa Sipley are back after missing last week with the Pride jersey controversy. But Sean Kepi, he was out injured, remaining sideline. Andrew Davey did suffer a head knock against the Roosters, but has been able to play with Ben Trebojevic back from his head knock he suffered in round number 19, with Dylan Walker and Mark DePauw reverting to the bench after started last week. Let's go to the Parramatta Eagles side first. Down in for the second time and still the only team to beat them this season. The Parramatta Panthers losing and Parramatta winning 34 points to 10. Well. If this didn't have anything for a finals contention or finals feel to it, I don't know what will. The Eagles beating their biggest rival for the second time this season and a massive boost for the confidence in the run home. It's going to be hard without Mitch Moses, but could they do it? only time to tell. And they were in control even though Penrith scored first. Well, Penrith then had Jerome Luai, which was a bit of a downturn to start off with heading into this match. But what the big talking point was, and the turning point in this match, was Nathan Cleary. Yes, you did hear that right. Nathan Cleary getting sent off, which how often do you see or hear Nathan Cleary sent off? I don't think I've ever seen that in my time watching his NRL career. And it was for a dangerous tackle. And watching the vision, it could have been a lot worse for the player that got tackled, which I think was still about, but it was a very dangerous tackle from Nathan Cleary. But after that, yes, they did score first, but after Cleary got sent off, that was downhill from there on in. So it's going to be interesting to see how they go for the remainder of the season without Luai, who's back, should be back for the first or second week of the finals, and Cleary won't be back until week 1 of the finals. So could this potentially lose Penrith the minor premiership that everyone thought they were going to win probably 4, 5, maybe 6, well, probably 4 or 5 weeks ago. But now this has happened. Could they maybe lose it to either the Cowboys or the Sharks? Will be interesting one to watch here. Connor has written his standout performance, which was Reid Marley from the Parramatta Eels, with 2 drives, 26 run meters, 2 line breaks, and 35 tackles. Parramatta are so going to miss him next year, but it's a good game for the Bulldogs for Reid Marley. Now, the send-off of Nathan Cleary proved to be a pivotal point in this match. At 10-6, Parramatta turned this game on its head. Pretty much what I've just said there, but in his own words, is one does ponder how accurate would the Eels be judged. In spite of being the only team to beat Penrith twice in 1 year, they simply wore them out defensively and punished them across the left edge and through the middle regarding the 4 tries between Marty and Sevo. Yeah, look, Sevo, whenever he gets the ball, he's unstoppable close to the try line, and even the commentators in the match said that as well. As soon as he gets the ball, he's so hard to stop, especially when he's probably, I'm going to say, definitely 10 meters out, maybe 20, anywhere in the field, really. He's hard to stop. But yeah, we had a very, very good Sydney derby, Western Sydney derby, I should say, right here. And yeah, a cracking match. That's what you want at this time. It had a final feel to it. Now, as for the Seagulls, I did touch on it, of them going down to the Sydney Roosters by 10 points. They'll be looking to bounce back this time against Parramatta Eels. So, with those 2 games wrapped up, it's prediction time for the Seagulls versus Eels. I'm going to go with the Parramatta Eels winning this one by 2 converted tries, so 12 points. Connor, on the other hand, has gone with the home side, winning 7-12. I'm guessing he's thinking that with Mitch Moses out, it's going to be half for Parramatta. And with the likes of Saab, Olakawatu, and all that backup and missing last week, Manly could come out on top. Blockbuster game right here on the second Friday night game. Now, the next match up we have here is the Rabbitohs versus the New Zealand Warriors on the Sunshine Coast. For the away side, we have got Ewan Aitken moving back to the back row. No, from the back row, sorry, to the centres and plays with Adam Pompey, who goes to the reserve. Harris Tavita is out with a knee injury, so Wade Egan moves from dummy half to 5'8", meaning Freddie Lusty gets promoted to the starting dummy half. Aaron Penne is back from illness. Baylor Sirenen is back from an eye socket injury, and Jack Murchie is back from parental leave, meaning that Josh Curran goes to the bench and Joseph Tunga drops out due to a shoulder injury suffered against Melbourne last time out. With Otu Kolo will play his first game since round 13 on the bench for the Warriors. As for South Sydney, Tano Milne returns from a finger injury in centres, filling the hole left by Jed Cartwright, who's out with a hamstring injury. Tom Burgess has been suspended, and he is replaced by Mark Nichols. Blake Taft is the new man on the interchange, who has been recorded since round 15. And that means Cody Hikarima is out. I touched on the Warriors game going down to Melbourne. They tried, but just couldn't get there in the end. But South Sydney narrowly, and I say narrowly, going down to the Cronulla Sharks. An absolute golden point thriller, 21 points to 20. Now, what a game this was. This game definitely had a finest feel to it, and it certainly delivered, with the Sharkies coming out on top in an absolute thriller. Nico Hines standing up to the occasion by keeping this cool from slotting over the 1-pointer to win it in the second half of Golden Point. And this is a perfect segue. Speaking of Nico Hines, that is kind of a standout player with 108 run meters, 1 try assist, 1 offload, and a 1-point field goal. The momentum swung back and forth in the entirety of the match. In what was a top 4 shooter, Alex Johnson might have not gotten South Sydney the 2 competition points, but he is now amongst the top 10 greatest try scorers of all time. He has got 55 tries between him and Ken Irvine. He goes on to ask the question, could we witness history in the making? I believe yes, we can. The strike rate of Alex Johnston is unbelievable. Being the top 10, 55 away from Ken Irvine. If he keeps scoring at least 2 tries, maybe 3 tries, I'd just say at least 2 tries for the remainder of this season, and carries that form into next season, we could see it happen by the end of next season. Barring he hasn't missed off any games due to suspension, which is absolutely very rare for Alex Johnston getting suspended. But injury do stay a little bit off. So if he stays health-free and judiciary-free, could, I reckon, see him beat Ken Irvine next year. That's just a bold prediction, a very early 2023 bold prediction there. He goes on to say Connor, I should say, goes on to say, Ronaldo Mulitalo produced yet another try of the pretender. His athletic ability in the air is amongst the best Cronulla can offer heading into September. More important now with Sione Katoa out for Varsity, that was an absolute not even an aerial contest from South Sydney. Mulitalo, it looked like he had bloody springs on the bottom of his boots. He just leapt up in the air over the top, and I think he ended up scoring from that too, which is unbelievable effort there. Moving Latrell Mitchell to centre, ultimately backfired on the Rabbitohs without his power running off the try line and no clear plays heading out his way. A golden opportunity with his tier, which is very similar to what I wrote about South Sydney, which will be disappointed not to get the win. And Latrell Mitchell won't be happy with himself either by missing 3 field goal attempts. And it was a great performance on the team, barring the send-off at the end in the second half Tom Burgess got sent off. So the second send-off in one weekend, which can't remember the last time that happened either. But yeah, it's just an absolute thrill every game, and definitely had finals feel written all over it. Unbelievable there. And the Warriors, like I said, touched on going down in Melbourne. This matchup here between the Rabbitohs and the Warriors could be an interesting one. To an extent, though, if the Warriors will really need to be uh, focusing on the goal kicking if they want to beat South Sydney, but it's going to be a very, very hard task indeed. Connor has said the Rabbitohs to win 13 plus. I did go a bit lenient. Oh no, I didn't. Sorry, I thought I had a close margin. Now I said the Rabbitohs to win this one by 30 points indeed. For our next game, we have got the Green Machine, the Canberra Raiders, up against the Penrith Panthers in Canberra in the middle Saturday game. Now, with Nathan Cleary suspended for 5 games for his dangerous tackles, Sean O'Sullivan moves from 5'8" to halfback, with Jermaine Salmon coming in to start at 5'8". Stephen Crichton returns from his ear cut that he got against the Sharks, and Mitch Kenny is back on deck from his knee injury. As for the Green Machine, Jordan Rapana is back from suspension, which sees Albert Hopper at age of 18. Adam Elliott has been named despite hurting his hip against the Gold Coast Titans last week out. Well, I've already touched on both these games, or the previous 6 games. Panthers losing to Parramatta was unexpected, especially with Cleary being out or getting sent off. And then the Raiders beating Gold Coast Titans there. This one could potentially also have that final feel to it, but the Raiders is sitting in ninth, and without Cleary and Blue White, it's going to be a very, very tough task for Penrith to win the remainder of the regular season matches. They will get wins here and there, but whether they can string them all together, and we could see more than just Parramatta beating Penrith this year. I have gone with the Raiders to win by 14 points. I'd say with pretty much full strength as they're going to get this year, Canberra coming against the reigning Penrith who aren't full strength. It could be a win for them, which would be very happy. Let's see if they do win, if Ricky Stewart does another calf injury or not. Connor has gone on to say the Raiders. No, it says the Panthers to win this one 1-6. So one says win by 2 converted tries and a penalty goal, and one says 1-6. Interesting call made there. Yeah, for the last Saturday night game, it is the local derby, a sold-out derby between the Cronulla Sharks and the Dragons. It's sold out there at PointsBet Stadium on a Saturday night. What more could you want? Now, for the Dragons, surprisingly, Anthony Griffin has stuck with the same 17 that lost to the Cowboys, for Cody Ramsey due back next week from a knee injury. As for the Sharkies, there has been a blow with Will Kennedy facing 5 to 6 weeks on the sideline after going for ankle surgery. That's the rest of the regular season, plus maybe a week on finals, depending on how quick he comes and how quick the Sharkies want him in there. His place is taken by Kay Dykes on debut. Royce Hunt is out with a shoulder injury, so Brandon Hammond-Ueli will start with Braden Trindle joining the bench. Royce Hunt has also been listed amongst the reserves, so he may get a recall later in the week should he recover quickly from his shoulder injury. Oh boy, what happened to the Dragons? I don't want to know. They went absolutely nowhere, going down heavily to the Cowboys, 34 points to 8. It's a loss that the Dragons needed at this point in time when they are trying to stay in touch or get into the top 8. But and all their points come in the second half. All the points in the first, all 8 points for the Dragons. Wasn't a first half with nothing doing in the second half on that. Like they didn't even come out at all, as Cowboys went right in the second half. They show what they are. Why the Cowboys did show why they are only second on the ladder, mostly in the second half, but I'll put it on try after try after try whilst hammering the Dragons. And they also broke a hoodoo of winning at the start of Jubilee Stadium and also winning in Sydney, which they don't do very often, the North Queensland Cowboys. So, two things that they do very rarely, and they managed to pull it off. Now, the standout player for Connor was from the winning side, the Cowboys, which is no surprise here. Jeremy Nanai, 2 tries, 1 try assist, 149 run meters, 3 tackle breaks, 3 line breaks, and 4 offloads there. It was just absolutely everywhere, adding again to his try total. And this time, these 2 tries weren't from kicks, or one of them was from a rubber kick in that line. He just had the ball and just ran straight for the line. As Connor says here, speaking of Jeremy Nana, he looked likely nearly every time the ball came his way, which is true, and that's why he got selected for Queensland in State of Origin. From line breaks to creating and scoring tries, this guy is unstoppable. Perhaps a World Cup spot is on the cards come October. It'll be very good to see if he does get a World Cup spot, and interesting to see if he does. He is improving from him. Made his Queensland debut this season in his rookie season, which how often does that happen? Not often at all. But you could not leave him out of the Queensland side. You can't leave him out of the Cowboys side. And whilst to chuck him into a World Cup side, see how well it goes. And as for the Dragons, Connor has written their defense cave after 50 minutes of strong, resolute defense. The moment Talamoa creates a breakthrough in the middle, that's for sure. Yeah, Talamoa, once he breaks through. The Dragons went nowhere. I mean, they kind of went nowhere pretty much on the start of the second half onwards. So very disappointing, obviously, with close to the finals. That's not what the Dragons needed at this time of year. So, heading into this matchup between the Sharks and the Dragons, the rate that the Sharks are going, it's going to be hard for them to get beat unless they get beaten by a top teams in around them, like a Penrith, the Cowboys, the Storm, maybe even a Broncos. But other than that, I don't think anyone can beat the Sharks. So, Connor has said the Sharks to win 7-12. I've gone to the Sharks to win by 18 points. I don't think that the Dragons, I don't see them making the finals, but you never know. They did beat Manly surprisingly. So you never know. Maybe they could try and get one back on their local rivals. Now for the next game, we have got the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs up against the North Queensland Cowboys at Salter Oval in Bundaberg on the first Sunday match. Now, for the away side, which is Cowboys, Kyle Bell is missing with a hamstring injury, and his place is taken by Hamasai to the right for that with Jake Granville, the new player on the bench. As for the Bulldogs, that are in some really decent form at the moment since Mick Porter has taken over, and he has named the same 17 that won over Newcastle on the weekend with the Tower Mariner with some reserves that has seen that he's missed out on since a Rick Cartlett's injury in round that saw him sideline in round 20. Now, just touch on the Cowboys Dragons game. Let me touch on the Knights Bulldogs game. The Bulldogs winning over the Newcastle Knights, 24 points to 10. Newcastle were disappointing again and again at home, like the majority of their season has seen. The lead up to Dominic Young's try from Anthony Milford looked like it was a tap on straight out to Dom Young. Was spectacular, but other than that, not really many highlights again for the home side, which was disappointing to see, considering it was a I wouldn't say near packed out, but it was a Healthy crowd for a Sunday afternoon in Newcastle, which is always the case there. As for the Bulldogs, yet again another win and in final fashion, as some, if not all, the tries and the lead up to them all was absolutely brilliant to see, especially Josh Adokar kicking across field to the other winner of Jacob Carras for his second of 3 tries. That was absolutely awesome to see. You do not see a winner kicking a winner very often indeed. And Adokar, we knew he's capable of doing a lot of things, but that is not what we didn't expect. Speaking of the other winner of not Adokar, but Carras, that's the Bulldog stand-up player and for player stand-up for corner, with Jacob Carras being 3 tries, 259 running meters, 7 tackle breaks, 3 line breaks, and 3 offloads there. It's 3 points here for me, saying, my God, what a try scored. How many times do you see a winner kicks a winner scoring? Carras's second try was simply, I tried the year contender. Have to agree there. Like with Nortalo's aerial assault in the game against South Sydney, this is a try the year contender for sure. If that wasn't good enough, his third try clocked a 0.2 second delay between grounding and going into was mind-boggling. As Ray Ryan would have said, quote, by a boarding house, scraping butter, he got in, unquote. And Canterbury's second half defence should be commanded within the final 15 minutes, but allow Newcastle to wrestle momentum after a dominant first half. And this momentum swing occurred against anyone at top 6, they will pay the price. And that's what happened a few weeks ago when the Bulldogs played Rabbitohs. They'll try for try, and this stage is in front, and we're looking to win. But then the defense let them down against South in that match. Sorry, the Bulldogs defense let them down, and South made them pay. So that's what he's referring to there. But Newcastle, who's in 14th, I believe, in the ladder, they're way down the ladder anyway. I'll just quickly check that up. Yeah, 14th on the ladder. And the Dogs are now up into 12th on the ladder, only a win clear of the Knights and the Warriors. But yeah, a brilliant game from the Doggies. Their attack since Nick Potter's taken over is something that we haven't seen from the Bulldogs attack in a long time. They should, I want to say it again, I sound like a broken record. They need to keep Mick Potter heading to next season. Now back to this Bulldogs Cowboys game. Connor has gone the Cowboys to win this one 1-6 in what will be a tight affair, and played at a neutral ground, which I don't think Bundaberg has seen a rugby league game before. No less than trial matches, but a proper premiership match. This one should be good. I have gone the opposite. I'd say the Bulldogs could cause an upset here and win by 6 points. And for the final game of the weekend, we have got the West Tigers up against the Newcastle Knights out at Campbelltown. Team news is Bradman Best is back for the Knights from a thumb injury, so Tawala shifts to the wing with Simis Sasagi going to the bench. Dave Clamer was not considered for this selection due to discipline reasons. There has been talks about him, or was talks about him going to the Parramatta Eels for the remainder of the season, but that ultimately didn't happen. And there might be more reasons than that. So he's been replaced by Jacob Safidi. Kurt Mann is amongst the reserves. I see looks to return from a quad injury. While for the home side, youngster Fanua Pole gets his second game at in the starting side as a replacement for Jackson Hastings, who's out for the remainder of the season with an ankle injury and could potentially maybe missed out on the World Cup. You just had to wait and see there. A 26-year-old and West Magpies New South Wales Cup captain Tom Freeborn will make his NRL debut off the bench. So well done to the young fella there. And Luke Garner remains sidelined with a neck injury. So one coming off a loss, another loss, but one causing the upset of one of the upsets of the season. You think that the Tigers should go on with it. Going back to the game in round 2, when Newcastle played host of Tigers up at McDonald Jones Stadium in Newcastle, the Knights were all over the Tigers. The Tigers were absolutely nowhere to be seen besides that late try there. Yes, they are 14th and 15th in favour of Newcastle in the ladder and Tigers 15th. But the way that the Tigers have been playing has been a lot better than Newcastle as of late. So really, it still could be an either way victory, but the way that the Tigers have been playing compared to Newcastle, it should be a Tigers victory there. I have gone with the Tigers to win this one by 16 points, and Connor has gone on to win, to say the Tigers to win this one by 1-6. And that is full time on part number 1 of this week's episode of the Sideline Chat podcast. Don't forget to follow our socials on Facebook and Twitter. It is Sideline Chat. No, Twitter Sideline Chat RL, and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram at Sideline Chat. Hit the bell to get notifications when we release this episode and future episodes of the podcast, as well as our gaming series that we have got up and running. Click subscribe and hit the bell again. Hope you enjoyed this part of the Sideline Chat podcast, and I'll see you in part number 2 for this week's episode.